Now, y'all, the Eurovision Song Contest 2015 came to its end last night in Vienna, and I just got back to London, and I am exhausted. I have not slept in 2 weeks, and so I was watching the show live in the arena. Now, Angus, who is joining us in the north of England, he was watching on the television, so we have two sides of this coin, and we're going to discuss the results for semi-final one. So first off, here are the results. In first place, it was Russia, followed by Belgium, then Estonia, Georgia. In fifth place, it was Romania, then Greece, Armenia, Hungary, Serbia. And in 10th place, scraping through to the final, was Albania. Now, of the non-qualifiers, there's a huge drop now. We have Moldova, Belarus, Denmark, the Netherlands, Macedonia, and Finland. Angus, what are your first thoughts about the first semi-final?
I think it's surprising the Netherlands did so badly, purely considering the fact that Anu even did quite well in television in 2015, and the Common Linnets definitely did. So that's a huge drop for them and disappointment. And I think as well, Estonia I would have expected probably to have beaten Belgium, I think, purely because it was more, I guess, commercial sound.
Yeah, let's actually look at the jury-televote split. First with the Netherlands, you'll see that with televoters, Trencha came 15th out of 16. That is next to last. She only beat Macedonia by 1 point. And yet with the jury, she got a huge boost. She finished in 5th with 70 points. Why do you think the jury preferred this more than the public?
I think it has a lot to do, I guess, with her vocal style. Like, juries tend to vote on the commercial and vocal sound, but I think also performing as early as she did, televoters vote more on the running order than juries perhaps do when they're ranking them all. So if you're a casual viewer watching, you probably wouldn't have remembered her as much coming later in the show.
It's a really good point. And we see with Estonia a similar gap, although in the other direction. Televoters ranked Estonia 2nd, but then the jury only ranked them 10th. And I gotta say, that really surprised me because this song is very commercial, radio friendly. Like, I don't know, it just sounds so now, so current, yet otherworldly. Like, we all ranked it so highly. The bookies ranked it highly. We ranked it highly on the Wee Wee jury. I just don't understand. Was it an issue of staging? I guess, why is the jury not going for this?
I mean, I guess there is only 5 points between 5th and 10th of the juries, so it's not a huge margin. But I think perhaps just, I don't know if it came across false, but like the tear that Alina had was obviously very moving, but could also come across quite stagey and perhaps false, and maybe juries did not respond as well to that as televisions would. Because I was moved. When I saw those tears, I was just like, oh my God, I feel your sadness. I want to smile to the dog as I leave the door. I mean, it just tugs at your heartstrings.
And I know this is a semi-final, but in the grand final, Estonia performed after Israel, and after the high energy of Israel, going to Estonia was almost a buzzkill. And I don't know, who did they perform after in the semi-final? I don't remember, but maybe it was a similar thing. It was about its mood, its aspect relative to the other songs. I have to say this, Russia, she slayed the pack. She won both the jury and the televote, and by large margins. She won the jury vote by more than 20 points. She won the televote by, 16 points. I mean, she slays, and this was a beautiful performance. Like, looking back, it really does stand out. It's white, it's bright, it's positive, it's affirmative. It really stirred something in me.
I mean, I think it's Russia's best scoring song in the history of the contest for a reason. It was just mesmerizing. And I think what Polina has that perhaps Dima Bland didn't when he won in 2008 was kind of an honesty, but also like, she doesn't feel like a clone or a robot, whereas Dima is very like robotic and quite like controlled manufacturer, whereas Polina felt very genuine. And I think as well, kind of A Million Voices, the message of it coming after all the stuff we've seen with Russia, all the booing and stuff, it just is a message that clearly resonated with people at home. As I guess a statement of Russia is not all to be taken as Putin. Like, this is kind of a distinction in the two.
And we can't not mention Belgium's Loic Nottet, who came 2nd in this semi-final. People from other broadcasters and networks were saying that Belgium really set the standard this year. They mixed it up. I mean, people have talked about Sweden's projection screen, but people in the press center, from broadcast were saying, wow, Belgium has worked these camera angles. They transformed the stage in a way that other people didn't. I mean, completely white. He was working the floor. This wasn't my favorite, I'm not going to lie, but I can see why people got behind this. I thought this would put people off, that it would be too edgy, but I was wrong. It came 3rd with televoters, and it came 2nd with the jury. Are you surprised that it did so well?
I'm not surprised at all. I think Belgium kind of has this habit of every few years they send a really good song. We saw it with Tom Dice and Me My Guitar, and definitely Loic and Rhythm Inside is a step up. I mean, this is Belgium's best scoring entry in the history of the contest. It's the best song they've ever sent. And I think it's just so modern and so rushing and so anti-Eurovision in the sense that it's not camp, it's ultra controlled, ultra arty. But also Loic is a real artist. Like, he wrote the song, he didn't write it for the contest, he wrote it for his own artistic credentials. And I think his success speaks volumes.
It's great to see Belgium bouncing back after the disaster that was Axel Hirsu last year. I think there's this funny trend, crap one year, amazing the next. So hopefully, Trenches crashing out will mean a lot for the Netherlands. Like, I think the Benelux countries are pushing each other. They want to outdo each other, don't they? And it's quite good to have, not that Trench crashed out, but that it gives the Netherlands something to reach for, because they've tasted success in recent years, and I'm sure they want it back. Georgia, now she did very well. I thought the televoters would get behind this more than the jury, but it's the other way around. As you can see, Georgia came fourth with the televote and third with the jury to finish in fourth place overall behind Estonia. What do you make of that?
I think definitely the screens was one of the best use we saw in the contest. And yeah, I just think a first performance that stood out on an artistic merit. I mean, you look at Belgium, definitely from the artistic point of view, and even I'll give you Trench of like the veil kind of thing, like that emotional focus. It was very kind of art driven, which I think appeals. And like the original, like you see, like Belarus did much better, which I think kind of appeals to the fact that Maimuna was included as like a string component to the thing, as well as Romania's kind of lovely wholesome message. I think that reflects the jury's focusing on, I guess, the artsier side of acts.
And something else in the semifinal that stands out to me is Serbia's Bojana. She actually finished ninth in the semifinal, but there was a lot of hype around her in the press center and with the bookies after the jury final and after the semi. So we were convinced that she had done rather well, because I think at one point she was fifth or sixth favorite to win it all. Yeah, but with televoters, she came seventh, and with the jury, it's the jury that crushed her. She finished 14th.
I think just with that, it's the kind of the dance thing. Like, it was very Eurovote, but very kind of mid-noughties Eurovision, in the sense of that huge big dance breakdown, which was great, and the fans love and go for. But like, from a critical music point of view, it's not the most, I guess, intelligent thing to do with a competition. Just breaking into like the wow, and then she's just like screaming for like the last 20 seconds. Which I think was reflected in like the Wee jury when we were scoring this. It was very divisive because people either went for the fun or which is like it's kind of silly and stupid.
Yeah.
The big talking point I think is Finland, who was so highly rated before the contest. And like I was watching the first time on the television, and I was thinking, God, they're going to qualify, because like I hate the song 'cause it's punk, but like the vocal in terms of like the screamy heavy metal, like whatever you want to call it, was really good, and that shows in television because they cracked in. But juries, I was surprised they crushed this. I thought they were going to go for it. It was going to be like Lordi 2.0, and they came dead last with 1 point.
It's brutal. I mean, there were 41 points separating them and Macedonia in the jury vote. The jury, of course, voted them dead last. I think this goes to show that transparency, forcing the jurors to put their name by an act, will prevent jurors from kind of, I don't know, voting with their heart or taking a leap of faith, and voting for someone who they want to. I think they would have been embarrassed. So even if people did like the song, maybe they didn't like it musically, they liked it for its message, they were too embarrassed to put their name by it. I mean, on the other hand, you could just say it's bad. And it is a pretty appalling song musically. But I think a lot of us were really rooting for them to get through, actually, in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were, because you
Okay,
suck it into the message. But I mean, like, I never liked the song. Yeah, I just think that's right. And like Macedonia, I think it shows the staging killed that song, because I feel that would have scored really well with the juries without the backing dancers and like the Grammy nominated backing vocalists or whatever they were.
This is like, we can get this Grammy group, they're expensive, let's throw cash, it'll help us. But no, it hurt you. Like, you need to spend your cash wisely. I think they could have staged this much more simply and much more cheaply just by using his drawings from Autumn Leaves, the video. I mean, maybe people would have said, it's like Måns Zelmerlöw's, but no, Daniel's video came out first, didn't it? I don't know. I just feel like he made bad choices. The whole thing was a mess. Why were they having ancient Greek Macedonian columns in the background? It didn't fit with the R&B sound.
No, and I think Denmark as well is quite shocking. I mean, anti-social media were not hyped before the contest, but I mean, consider like 2 years ago, Emily de Forest was in a very similar semi-final, and she crushed the competition in that field. And I think this is so kind of shocking for a country that's been such a consistent qualifier to crash out so conclusively. Like, they didn't qualify in either ranking system.
It's just painful. Now we have to talk about Moldova. It comes 11th. Now this actually kind of surprised me. I'm quite shocked that Moldova almost well, they didn't almost qualify. They were still nearly 21 points behind Albania. But who supported them more, the public or the jury? We are looking.
Public.
The public ranked it 11th, while the jury ranked it 13th. Are you surprised by this?
I'm not, because having seen Edward live a few times, the whole like early kind of like late noughties R&B sound that he does is very public, because we all have nostalgia for it, and we're all like, oh my god, that's kind of catchy, and like it's cheesy, like you're embarrassed to like it, but you still like it. And I think his performance with like the policeman is the kind of thing televote scaffold is like, haha, look, it's policemen gyrating on scaffolding. So like in televoters, I'm not surprised. Juries, I'm surprised this didn't come dead last, because this is like, I understand Finland coming last because it was a punk song and therefore they were kind of like meh, but at least that's kind of musically more credible than Moldova.
Absolutely. And, you know, Alheida Dani, she scraped in at 10th. But in the grand final, she would have placed top 10 with the public. It's a really interesting result. This shows you how important, you know, having neighbors and voting history in the semifinal is, because you can do so well with the public in the final and then not do so hot in a relatively smaller field.
Yeah, I think just for Alheida, I don't know what went wrong, because she had been so consistently rated by fans and everyone for that vocal. It's like, I would have more expected her to be kind of challenging for the top spots, like top 3. Much more so than Georgia. Like Nina Sablati, we all kind of saw going through, but not in top 3, and she qualified in top 4 in both.
You glow, girl. She looked fierce. She was radiant. I can't say enough. You know, I stood behind Nina Sablati in the lunch line one day. She was chewing her bubblegum, eating her food. She's really nice. Like, I know she comes off as a diva and, like, you know, warrior, all strong, but she's also just a very sweet person. And she said in a press conference, it was so nice. Someone said, what makes you cry? And she said, I cry when I laugh. I just think she's actually a ray of sunshine. She may have dark hair, but she is golden in my book. Well, that's what we think. What do you think? Let us know what you're thinking about the first semifinal results here on wiwibloggs. See you later. Bye.